It feels like everyone's allowed to be as mean as they want to Matt, because
I know, but I can't believe that as well, though, because you sort of think, gosh, if it was anybody else, this would be like a nation bullying, someone. But the nation seems to be getting away with it. And literally, even little Ant and Dec,
they are loving it.
They're the referees. And it's just like, wow, is this really happening?
Hi, I'm Katie Hind and welcome back to Jungle Confidential. We've got Sinitta this morning. Hi Sinitta, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. I'm trying to put on lashes.
Are you multitasking, are you, Sinitta?
How do they look?
Yeah, they look very good. Sinitta's had an issue with her hair and makeup artist this morning, haven't you, Sinitta?
She wasn't able to come because her baby was ill, so I'm putting on... In fact, it's quite appropriate because these lashes are a bit like caterpillars, aren't they?
Indeed. Well, listen, Sinitta, you survived without hair and makeup when you were in the jungle back in 2011, didn't you?
Right. Only just, though. And it was the least of my problems.
So you were third to be evicted. So you were in there for quite some time, weren't you?
Yeah, but was I third? Did I go out there early? It felt like I was in there forever.
I'm sure it did.
It was like, I suppose you have to stay there for a long time before they start voting you out, don't they? I mean, oh my God. I did trials because I have a terrible, terrible bug, spider, rat, snake, everything phobia. And I agreed to do it after years of saying no, because someone told me it would probably cure me of my phobia. So, you think, oh my God, it's like death by baptism. But if I come out never afraid of anything again, it will be great because it's been the bane of my life. Well, it desensitized me a little bit. But now it's full blown back again because I tried to watch it. And I watched them all getting ready and meeting to go and all that part, which I really enjoyed. As soon as the trials started, I can't watch the trials because it triggers me. I literally am screaming, I'm hiding, I'm sweating as if I'm there with the bugs, because just even having the bugs like on camera in your face like that is so horrible, isn't it?
And when you say it triggers you, Sinitta, how does it make you feel? Like, what does it do to you physically and mentally?
I feel like physically, like really, really anxious, as if I'm there doing the trials myself, because I've been there, so I remember it, and it is real. But also, I'm someone that even like, a spider on YouTube, if my son shows me a spider, just the movement, it kind of makes my whole body shiver, and I don't like it, and I'll run away from the screen. I won't watch movies like Arachnophobia. I mean, like, why would I? Traumatize myself even more. So I've been watching the show, and I can remember why I stopped watching it, because I watched myself back when I was in there, and it was like I had a whole relived experience, if I was there.
So you did watch yourself. So you were there. You did have to do some pretty awful challenges, didn't you, when you were there? I mean,
it was baptism of fire, yes.
And you really you really found them difficult, and you definitely left the viewers with no definitely sure that you were petrified in there. I mean, you say that you went on there to try and get rid of these phobias. I mean, did you actually think that was going to work?
I did, because there's a course that you can do in Regent's Park, which sort of helps you with becoming afraid of spiders. And what they do is they have you for a few hours, and at the end of it, they manage to get you to hold a giant sort of bird spider, I think they're called, in your palm. So I sort of understood that sort of exposure, getting to know their names, realizing that they're just creatures, living creatures like us, all of this. So I thought if I was fully immersed, that it would work. Now, I knew that I wouldn't like it, but I also knew I wouldn't die, it wouldn't kill me. So it's like, you're going to be like scared out of your life, but you'll come through this, and then you'll never be afraid of any of these things again. But it didn't work. But so I'll tell you what did work is, if I'm outside and like in the jungle itself, if a spider or something went by me, once I'd been there for a while, I was able to just observe it and look at it and think, well, actually, yes, it's just a spider or whatever going about its business. But inside your house or in the bath or someplace where they shouldn't be, I'm still right back up here out, because it's in my environment.
I mean, every year they get 10, 12, 14 people signing up to go on I'm a Celebrity. I mean, do you think that they're quite mad to do that?
Do you know what? I get it, because even though I've done it and it was terrible, I'm so glad I did it, because it was an incredible experience. It's almost like, I suppose, people when they bungee jump. See, that's something else. I would never bungee jump, because basically what you're playing is Russian roulette with your life. You know, will the rope break or won't it? I mean, I don't need that kind of heart attack to myself. Euphoria you feel when you survive is so fantastic, and that's how I felt after every trial. I mean, I'd be really, really suffering during it, but then afterwards you're kind of like, wow, that was incredible, and you start to feel a bit invincible. So it is sort of addictive. People, adrenaline junkies will love it. People who like insects and snake, you know, crazy people who like those things will like it. So I get it, because it is a phenomenal experience. I'd like to say it's something I would do again, because the experience was so great. But the flip side of that is, because I know there's no smokes and mirrors, it's really real. You really are covered in cockroaches. The snakes and stuff really are on top of you. I don't think I could ever do it again, because I know it's real now.
So at what point of this series did you stop watching it? So you gave it a go. Good for you. You decided, right, I'm going to give it a go this year.
Especially because I've got friends in there, you know, like
who are your friends?
Boy George,
yes,
Boy George, and Scarlett, beautiful, beautiful Scarlett, who I am obsessed with in here, because people are getting to see a totally different side of her. And Scarlett actually played me in a musical when she was younger.
Oh, did she?
So
oh, brilliant!
How I met her years ago. So she was like the baby Sinitta. And she's just a gorgeous girl. So I watch bits, like I watch the bits when they're sort of like just talking. So last night I kept trying to watch, because I knew we were going to talk today. Couldn't watch the trials, that poor man, Matt, whoever, I mean, in the thing.
Sinitta, you must be one of the only people in the country that's just said the words, poor Matt.
I know. And I mean, it's just because, I mean, it's just, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to be alone.
I suppose you know what it's like. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
So Boy George.
When Scarlett was telling jokes and saying that she could be a comedian and everything. So I laughed. I thought the jokes were funny. Yeah. I think she's hilarious. And I know it's too early to predict, but I actually think she's going to win, because she's just so cute.
Do you know, I think she's great, and she's really kind, isn't she? But she's also very funny. She's
super kind, super funny.
Yeah, I agree.
And now, gorgeous.
She is so gorgeous. No. Boy George, so your friend Boy George, so he's on there now. He really is, you know, one of the ones that we're watching at the moment. I mean, did you have any idea he was going in?
I had no idea, and I wouldn't have dreamed that he would do it, because you sort of think that he's a man who sort of likes his comforts and his hair and makeup and everything. But, you know, he's actually doing really well in there, and he's being really kind and really sweet with everybody.
Except from Matt. He's not a fan of Matt's.
No, he's not a fan of Matt. I mean, you know, Matt knew what he was signing up for, because he went in there and he had not only the critters to worry about, but the other celebrities. So, you know, he's very, very brave, and being paid a lot, and obviously in for a bit of punishment.
Talking of Boy George's hair and makeup, we obviously saw him reveal his hair transplant, didn't we? He revealed his... Were you aware of that? Were you aware of this? No. He said Wayne Rooney influenced, you know, it was his inspiration to have it. So
his hair looks amazing, isn't it? He's got all that jet black hair. I'm obsessed with, maybe a little bit in love with Mike Tindall, royal family. I think I'd be very regal. Sorry, Zara. But to have your own action man in there with you, you know, when he dived under that thing in the first trial, like just effortlessly, and went all under and did this and did that, I was like, yes to Mark being in the jungle. Why wasn't he there when I was there? Then he lit the fire, you know, he's just all fearless and down to earth, and, you know, it's like literally having G.I. Joe.
Or so macho, of course.
Of course, I would.
Would you have sung that to him? You'd be singing that, wouldn't you?
I would have sung it to him every day, especially if he promised to never leave my side for the entire operation. And he's fit, right?
He's really fit, and he's really funny. He's really funny. And last night,
Zara.
I know, lucky Zara. Hey? Last night he revealed that he once ripped his trousers whilst doing a slut drop in front of Princess Anne.
I did see that.
I mean, he really is revealing himself to be very funny, isn't he?
Very, very funny. But, you know, it doesn't really surprise me, because I think Zara's like very cool, and she's Princess Anne's daughter. You know, they're kind of the, you know, not the rebels, but they're the ones that I feel like most relatable to over the years. And Zara, there's just something very sexy and cool about her. And then she goes and bags that man. I mean,
you're very jealous of her, aren't you? What do you think Princess
jealous.
Anne? What do you think Princess Anne makes of him being in the jungle? I mean, I agree. What you just said about him being relatable, I completely agree with. And I think what the jungle is doing is making him and the royal family even more relatable. So I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah, because you get to see sort of behind the curtain, you know, as they say, don't you? And you realise, well, listen, he's been welcomed into the family with big, wide open arms, you know, and he's, you know, but I guess as well, he's a sporting legend hero, so they love all that. I mean, I remember the days when the royal family used to be on It's the Knockout. Was it It's a Knockout?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so they did used to be sort of jolly and funny and all that kind of stuff. So I think he sort of reminds us of those days, and, you know, that they are real people behind it. And you realise that they have a really good laugh. You can imagine them chuckling away and having great fun. They should do Gogglebox. Oh, my God. Can you imagine, you know, see which shows they watch and everything? Because he makes it seem like life in the family is quite fun.
Yeah, I mean, last week he sang Boom Shake the Room. He rapped, didn't he, to Boom Shake the Room and Ice Ice Baby. And I think I think people were like, gosh, is that what they get up to at Sandringham at Christmas? Which would be fabulous. So, Boy George, are we seeing the real Boy George?
I think we are. I think we're seeing the real Boy George. I mean, I met George years and years ago, about 3 weeks before his very first single was going to be released. We were in the Embassy Club back in the day on Old Bond Street, and he was dressed in all his sort of hazy fantasy sort of outfits that we used to wear in those days. And he kind of came over to me and he was kind of saying, oh, you know, I've got a track coming out. And I was like, oh, I've got a track coming out as well. Like everybody was kind of a wannabe pop star in those days. But of course, he really had a track. But it was really funny because he was sort of somebody that at that point was very live and around on the scene. Probably not taken that seriously, if I'm honest, you know, like with the so-called cool people, you know, because of the way he dressed and the way he was. And he was a fashionista, but he wasn't the kind of leading edge sort of cool set, but was always talking about his music and he's singing and he's got music coming out, but he never played anybody anything. So there were a few of us that were kind of a bit underestimated, you know, the wannabe pop stars. But I can remember being so pleased because, you know, within a few weeks, suddenly, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me was massive. And it was that crazy guy. And it was so funny because we were actually friendly and, you know, fine. But it was funny seeing all the people who used to sort of shoo us away suddenly sort of going, oh, hi, George. Suddenly everybody wanted to talk to him.
Because he was cool then, because he had this great song out.
Yeah,
so,
and this amazing voice.
I mean, he is coming across as a little bit bitchy, a little bit of a diva. Is that your experience of him?
Well, I mean, he is a diva. He is a diva. I mean, I think people forget that he was a real huge superstar, you know, and the first of his kind, you know, before RuPaul and, you know, all the sort of drag race superstars and, you know, that we're sort of worshipping now. He was the first, the original, and I think the best, because he was totally self-made and not really influenced by anyone else. You know, but he was on the cover of Vogue, you know, and all those things, and a whole makeup revolution sort of happened around him. So I kind of feel like he's a deserved diva. And he does still have a bit of that 80s acerbic tongue, because that was what it was like in those days. Everybody was bitchy and almost you were, you know, that's the same era Simon comes out of, you know. It was cool to be bitch in those days.
How do you think Boy George survives without hair and makeup? Help.
Do you know what? Because he's got hair, he's got all that fabulous grey hair, and he's got beautiful eyes. I mean, I think he's kind of embracing it and showing us that he has this other, you know, gorgeous side. Does he have permanent eye makeup?
It looks like he does, doesn't it? It does look like
something going on, because I'm thinking, well, you know what? Surely you don't just wake up like that in the morning. Yeah.
He does look good, doesn't he? He looks amazing for 61, I thought. Really amazing.
He looks amazing. He does look amazing. He looks great for his age, but he's also definitely rocking some kind of permanent makeup. Eyelashes are dyed. You know, it's all been considered, and he's rocking it. He looks great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe when I realised how old, when I realised he was 61. I was like,
Right,
wow.
yeah, yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you surprised that he went into the jungle?
I'm I suppose I'm surprised because, like I said, I think of George as one of the sort of superstar divas that you never sort of saw without their makeup on, more sort of old school, because that's what it was like in those days. You never showed behind the mask. So, yeah, but I'm really impressed. And I was surprised as well that he chose Scarlett to be his VIP partner, because I thought sure he'd go for Owen. I mean, there was Owen there with all of his gorgeous splendor and availability and vulnerability, and George sort of went, oh, choose Scarlett, which I did love, but I didn't expect.
No, and I mean, Owen is my favourite. Owen, I just love Owen. I think he's hilarious. I think he
Can
looks
we adopt
amazing.
him?
I know.
I want to cook for him. I want to do everything for him.
Well, within reason, Sinitta, within reason. Now, so yes, I was surprised he picked Scarlett too. His customising of his outfits. I mean, I think that's the first time it's happened, hasn't it? Ever since I'm a
Yes.
Celebrity. I mean, do you
Yeah.
think that's something he's doing to be a bit of a rebel?
I think he's a child of the 80s. I mean, again, I think this is really authentic. This is what we did, in those days before fame and money, we didn't have money. So everybody kind of shopped out of the same army surplus shop in Covent Garden on Long End, on Endell Street. And you sort of bought the same T-shirts and stuff, but it was the customization of those things and making them individual, which is how we showed our individuality and we expressed ourselves, because we didn't have money, and there was certainly no designer things. So I think, again, if you're going to be given a uniform, you can't give the child of the 80s a uniform, expect them to just wear it like everybody else. That's not going to happen.
And he hasn't, has he? I mean, what do you think the chances of him being the king of the jungle are?
I think that George does stand a really good chance, because he's hilarious. Like last night, he kept calling Matt, what was he calling Matt? Her, she. He said, oh, she's, what did he say? He said something like, oh, yes, she's, watch her. She's going to turn any minute now. The one's going to turn. And it was all of it. And I just love that, because, again, it's probably that 80s humor that I've thrown it up with, and the fact that he's been relegated to she, which I know today probably people won't get as much, because she, him, her, and what our pronouns are is a thing.
Yes.
But back in the day, to just be like dismissive of, someone who's so obviously hetero cis male as she. I mean,
very much so, isn't he?
Irreverent. You can't be more irreverent or kind of dismissive and rude. So I find that hilarious.
No, I agree, and also he made that. I mean, he's very quick, isn't he? He's very quick-witted.
Yes.
I think when Matt Hancock was made leader of the camp,
that's what I mean.
and Boy George said something like, I'm not going to be told what to do by Tory or something like that. He's very. I mean, he clearly has a real problem with Matt Hancock, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's very political. But he is just. Well, it's just hilarious. He said, she's really taking it all too far. She really thinks she's king of the jungle or whatever. Well, I'm not peeling the potatoes or whatever. But I just, the fact that Matt will be forever she, while he's in the jungle, is just hysterical.
I mean, that could offend some people, couldn't it? Of course, calling a man a she. Do you think he cares? I mean, he doesn't seem to care who he offends, does he?
No, I mean, he is. I think he's not part of the PC world that we've all had to learn to be a part of. So it really is as if he's stepped right out of the 80s, and all he's done is take his wig off or his hair off and his makeup, and he's still very much that person. But I love that, because, like I said, it's the humor that I sort of understand probably best and grew up with. But I am kind of wincing a bit as well, thinking, oh my gosh, like I hope he doesn't end up cancelled, or people sort of not getting his humor and it going the wrong way for him, because, like you said, it can go that way. And I think particularly the younger generation, people who are gender pronoun sensitive and things like that, might take it personally. But I know where he's coming from with it, and it's not even that deep. It's just like, oh, she's,
I mean, he does seem to be getting away with it, doesn't he? I mean, you do wonder if the younger viewers might be offended, but I'm sure the older viewers will probably see it as a bit of a breath of fresh air and actually probably really quite like him for it. And
I think
of course, he's talking about Matt, and it feels like everyone's allowed to be as mean as they want to Matt because
I know. I mean, but I can't believe that as well, though, because you sort of think, gosh, if it was anybody else, this would be like a nation bullying, someone. But the nation seems to be getting away with it, and literally, even little Ant and Dec.
They are loving it.
The referees, they're the referees. And it's just like, wow, is this really happening?
I mean, do you think that Boy George's feelings towards Matt Hancock are clearly due to his politics? I mean, he's a big lefty, right?
Yes. I mean, I guess when it's politics, you're allowed to show your feelings and your opposition and your animosity. If it was personal, I guess it would be different. And I think so long as it doesn't get personal, I think he'll be able to continue to get away with it. I suppose what they really need is someone who's pro-Matt to at least level the playing field a bit.
Yeah. Although
pro him politically,
Yes, I mean, he certainly seems to be winning over the campmates, doesn't he? I mean, I know you've not been able to watch certain parts, Sinitta, but he does seem to be winning over the people his colleague, his co-stars, who perhaps were very surprised to see him. He does seem to have a personality that people are warming to.
Yeah, I mean, the bits I saw of him, he was trying to do this thing. I couldn't really watch the snake pit thing, but I did sort of feel like I liked the way he was handling himself. He seems that kind of proper, what I call the English kind of stiff upper lip, stick your finger out, get on with it, or roll your sleeves up. He's that kind of chap, which I think people will appreciate. He didn't sort of wimp out, did he?
No, he didn't. I mean, he's. I think that's why he's not been voted to do any more, because he just does it. He gets on with it. There's no histrionics, is there? He just goes, okay, me again, trots off, comes back, says I've won however many stars, and they all say, yay, well done, and that's it.
Yeah. So I think once the public aren't able to actually torture him, they're going to have to just get to know him, and maybe he'll be okay. But yeah, he and George are probably going to be the friction.
I mean, do you see? I mean, Boy George is doing a challenge tonight. He's doing the trial tonight, isn't he? So maybe you won't want to watch that, so it might trigger you. Can you foresee a situation whereby the final comes down to Boy George and Matt Hancock?
Oh my God, I would love that. Oh my God. And them bonding, them becoming like the craziest romance and kind of getting each other through it and singing songs together. Oh my God, I'm there for that.
Imagine Matt Hancock singing "Come a Chameleon" with Boy George. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
I think he would, though. I think he'd have to.
Imagine what a geek he'd look.
You do become sort of quite, because you're stripped of everything and you're in this sort of weird survival mode. You do become almost childlike in there after a while, and that's what I was sort of spotting. You sort of think, well, you could imagine him as a little boy, in the, not the guides, what's the boy version of the
Scouts,
guides? The Boy Scouts, just being that guy.
Oh, I bet he
I'll
was.
I'll do it, sir. I'll do it. And, getting on with it and being sort of quite a good egg kind of thing. But I would love that. Although I do want Scarlett, but I would love that.
I mean, it would be very funny, wouldn't it? I mean, do you forget that you're being filmed when you're in there? Do you just does the whole camera thing just go you just pretend it's not there and get on with it?
Eventually, at first you're not aware because you're so terrified of everything, so you're not initially aware, and then you become aware. As you start to settle, you become aware and you start to think, oh, what do I look like? How am I coming across? For me, it was a disaster. I thought I was going to be in bikinis in the waterfall trying to look gorgeous for Simon. Instead, I had every article of clothing they gave me on and tucked in to keep the bugs out. So I just looked ridiculous, and I was sweating profusely because I had all the clothes on. But then I think once you cross over, once you've done the trials and you've been washed and you've been in the river and you start to just think about, the days are long. because when you're not actually doing trials, you're just in there surviving. And if someone's not being entertaining or saying, let's play a game or do this, and you're tired because they sleep deprive you. I don't know if you know this, but you're kind of up in the middle of the night. You have no idea what time of day or night it is really. So you're either sleeping or trying not to sleep, and just kind of trying to get through it, because it can get boring unless something's going on.
And when you say they sleep deprive you, do they actually sleep? What do they do to sleep deprive you?
Well, like, for example, like I said, I'd have all my clothes on and I'd get into the sleeping bag and zip it up, because that was the only way I'd sleep, knowing nothing could get to me. But it would almost say, and you must sleep. They may have changed it now, but in my time, you had to sleep with your microphone and your earphones in, so that not Big Brother, the person can talk to you all the time. So I would get into bed, which would take me ages to sort of finally get in and get settled, go to the loo. And then they would suddenly be like, oh, Sinitta, to the, whatever that room is that you have to go to.
The Bush Telegraph.
Bush Telegraph. And you think, oh no. And then you've got to get all out, and then it's dark and there's no lights on, and you've got to try and make your way there, and you're all scared again, and to go in there for a chat. And then you've got to wait. But they keep doing things like that to you, like messing with you.
Oh, God. I mean, it does sound absolutely horrendous. Yeah. I mean, I know it works for people. It reignites people's careers. And obviously it can be very lucrative. But it really doesn't sound like it's worth it to me.
I think that I found it hard. But like I said, I really enjoyed it. Bizarrely, in the end, I think of it as a positive experience. And I loved it, and I'm so glad I did it. But I do remember things like that. The fact that the toilet, it's not just that it's not a proper toilet, but it's far away. So if you have to go during the night, you're sort of doing this treacherous trip to get there. So you're just scared all the time.
Is it well lit when you're going? Is it well lit?
No, it's not. It's not. And water, like we had to get water out of the pond that we slept in and then boil it to be able to drink it, so you're kind of parched for water all the time and stuff, and I didn't think things like that would be real. I thought, oh well, obviously, if the food's really getting bad, they'll usher some food in from catering. They can't let you starve to
They're
death.
not going to let you die, are they? Now, Boy George is doing a bush tucker trial tonight. Are you going to please overcome your fears to watch him? He's your friend. You've got to.
I'm really going to try. I'm just going to try to be there for him. But that's the thing. I literally break into a sweat. It's as if I'm there. It's the wildest thing. But I think I'll watch George. I'll try and watch Scarlett if she does something. But I like watching it when they're just in the camp talking.
Thank you so much, Sinitta, for your time.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you get your hair and makeup done. You'll look beautiful.
On properly. If they look like they're falling off, they'll be fine in a minute.